Hello everyone, and welcome to a Minecraft video. Starting out in the ocean here because, well, this is where the center of the world is for this particular world. Today I'll be showing you how to get the invulnerable end crystals in the overworld, just like you can in Java. So we're going to head right over into the end. Now, of course, I'm doing this in creative mode, but it's totally possible to do it in survival. So obviously the first thing you'll have to do is defeat the Ender Dragon. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get out a map, and you're going to want to find which direction is west. This is just, well, not really west, or east, because east is where the first pillar is going to spawn in when you respawn the Ender Dragon. So, if we get ourselves some end crystals here, and we come down here to respawn the Ender Dragon, you will see that that pillar over there should be the first one to regenerate. Yes, perfect. So that is good to know, so we'll stop that. Now, the next thing we need to know is this is a caged pillar, so we won't be able to do it with this specific pillar. So it moves in a counter or a clockwise direction. So the next pillar will be this one. So this is the first pillar that we will be getting the invulnerable end crystal off of. So just for reference, the hitbox for the end crystal in Bedrock Edition is the size of one normal block. So we can push it by pushing basically where the fire is, that's where its hitbox is. And we can move the end crystal. Now you'll see the block got deleted because the fire will actually delete any block or tile that is there. So in order to kind of get rid of it, we have to use a piston head, and the piston head will remove the fire. And that finishes kind of putting the block over. And when you remove it, the fire is gone. Now you can go take these because they have the nice bedrock platform underneath that has no collision with any players, but the problem with it is it's not invulnerable. So we'll be getting the invulnerable ones. So a few things that you'll need just some blocks. You'll need sticky piston, regular piston, redstone block, or anything that will cause a powered signal. We'll need some redstone dust, repeater, some slime blocks, and some obsidian. So you're going to want to go, you can make the flying machine in any direction, but I'm going to be doing it so it points more in toward the center. So I'm going to come off to this corner. I'm going to come up 1, 2, and then put a redstone block. And then we're going to come out about 13-ish blocks. And of course, if you're in survival mode, you can just kind of place the blocks in front of you. And it will work perfectly fine. Now, if you're in survivor mode, you'll want to get a water bucket. Place a water bucket here because you're going to build down and over, down and over. And this is where we're going to place some redstone dust. And if it doesn't reach all the way over here, this is where the repeater comes in. Just boost that signal. So the next step we're going to do, we're going to place building the flying machine. So we're going to place some obsidian there. We're going to have a regular piston, a slime block, and another regular piston. Then coming this way, we're going to put a sticky piston on the slime block here, and we're going to place some obsidian there. Now, I did forget one thing. We need the observers. Very important that you use observers, because that's what's going to actually move your flying machine. So place one observer here, and we're actually going to place one more right here, and place that piston back. So that's all there is for the flying machine. So we can break this piece of obsidian so that the flying machine can actually move. So all that works here is when the obsidian pillar regenerates, it is going to destroy this redstone block, and that is going to unpower the redstone line. That is going to be picked up by the observer, and that's going to start off the flying machine. And it is going to fly all the way in this direction. Now, I'm in creative mode, so I can just fly over and break the flying machine when it's over here, but in survival, you're going to want to come over here. You're going to want to build up by one block, a second block, and come out more towards the center, if I can actually place them. So we're closer to the X value of 0, so we'll place obsidian. So that's going to stop the flying machine, and you can just break all these. Okay, so the next step you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your end crystal, and this is where you're going to begin to summon the dragon. So you'll see it starts regenerating this one regenerates, and now the flying machine has started. And once it's begun to push it, you're going to want to break the end crystals before the dragon finishes respawning, or else you'll have to fight an ender dragon. And the flying machine is almost over here, and it stopped. And you'll notice that the beam is going up into the sky. Now, because of Bedrock rendering, if you have the end crystal off of your screen, the beam does not render, but it's still there. So now you're going to want to break your flying machine, and now you want to build a second flying machine going downward. So let's just place piston there, slime block, observer, sticky piston, slime block, and a regular piston. This block here, place another observer there, and we can break all these, and then you'll just want to fire the observer. Now again, you'll probably want a piece of obsidian down here so that you can stop it, but for me, I'm just going to break the flying machine once it gets close to the ground. So once it's around here, you want to break the flying machine. You don't want it to go below the portal, because then you'll have to move it back up. And the next thing you're going to want to do is build another flying machine. And you'll send it over. Once you've gotten it close, you can break the flying machine again. And before we move this any closer, there's one thing that is a very critical difference between getting these in Bedrock and getting these in Java. Like I said earlier, the hitbox for the end crystal is the size of one block, which means the end crystal itself is aligned within one block. On Java, however, the hitbox is about the size of 2 by 2 with the end crystal being in the center, which means the end crystal is not aligned with any blocks when you push it. Because of that, when you try and push the end crystal down through the portal, instead of it going through the portal, it will want to, instead, it will go and just sit on top of the bedrock. I'll show you what that looks like here. So I push it over. And there we go. You'll see that instead of it going through the portal, it has now attached itself to the bedrock underneath. And not only that, it has deleted the end portal tile. Now, of course, we don't want that to happen. So what we need to do is we need to delete the bedrock underneath where we want to push it through. So I'm just going to come over here, break this end stone, and this one right here is the one that we're going to be breaking. So we need to be 3 blocks of space underneath, and so once you have 3 blocks of space, you're going to put a regular piston there, and we're going to use a very simple bedrock breaking technique. So you will need an observer, sticky piston, redstone torch, and a button. You also need snow layers. Snow layers are very important as they are a very powerful item in the Bedrock Edition of Minecraft. So you'll place a sticky piston there, block any block there, observer, and a torch. And then you will place a button on top of this piston, and that is what all the setup you're going to need in order to break this piece of bedrock right up here. So then you can place about 30 snow layers on top, enough for it to cover about more than 3 blocks being filled up. Alright, that may or may not have been 30 layers, but we will find out very shortly. So then all you have to do is place a button here, power that piston, and there we go. You can see that piece of bedrock is no longer there, and it is gone. You can look up, you can see right through the other portal, and the portal is still there. Alright, so now you're going to come over here and you'll build up so that you can move your end crystal. Of course, I didn't put it high enough up. And if that happens, you can just break the block that it decides to sit on top of. One more. Good. So now, should be directly over top. Nope, so we need to move it over by one block. Alright, so now we are directly above that portal tile. As you can see there, the end crystal blew up. That is because I was in creative mode. We just have to do this again. Okay. Looks like that's in line. Yes. So since the dragon was resummoned, the portal did reset itself. So we do have to re-break this piece of bedrock. Alright, so let's press the button and see if I put enough layers down. Yep, good. So there we go, the bedrock is gone. And we can come over here. There we go, okay. This time I'll be careful and not try and put it too close since I am in creative mode. And you'll see it stopped rendering the line because it came off my screen, so probably just one more block, and you'll see it is gone. It has gone through the end portal. And because there was no bedrock underneath, it just went through it instead of sitting on top of it. So we can go through the end. And there it is. So I have set this location as my world spawn so that it is close by to the actual 0, of the world, because this beam, well, where is it? There it is, will project towards 128.0, if I remember correctly. Now my game is slightly laggy because it seems like whenever the bedrock portion is inside of other blocks, it seems to get kind of laggy for some reason. Not too sure why it does that, but it does. So you'll also notice that it seems to be aligned in the center of 4 blocks, and that is because the coordinates of 0, 0 are actually in the cross between 4 different blocks, and all blocks are on a half coordinate point. So all we need to do is add a piston, shift it over, and we can do the same thing with this direction. And now it is aligned with a singular block. Of course, you're not going to want it just on the ground, so we can place a piston, and push it up into the air. And of course at this point you could do whatever you want with it. And just to show that it is an invulnerable end crystal, I will make a little staircase and a platform. I will get the bow out, and I will change my game mode to survival. Okay, now that we are in survival mode, we'll come up here, and I'm trying to punch this end crystal, and I cannot hit it. It's a little bit easier to tell that it's invulnerable when you have a bow. You'll see that the arrows bounce right off of it. In fact, I just dealt damage to myself there because it bounced off and hit me. Let's see if I can kill myself with the bow. There we go. We've just killed ourselves. And wonderful. Alright, so there you go. That's how you get the invulnerable end crystals in the overworld in Bedrock Edition. Have a nice one, and see you next time.